All right, let's tackle a chapter 17 problem. I'm going to share my screen so you see my Excel document. All right, here we go. Now, this question is question number one in the chapter 17 homework. And in the at the back of the chapter in your textbook, it's exercise 17-2. And it says, and I'm reading from my phone so I don't have to toggle between screens. Hydro Sports budgets overhead costs of $420,000 for the year. The company manufactures two types of jet skis, standard and deluxe. Budgeted direct labor hours per unit are 8 for the standard model and 12 for the deluxe model. The company budgets production of 100 units of the standard model and 100 units of the deluxe model for the year. And then the first required part says to compute the total number of budgeted direct labor hours for the year. So we're going to put the standard model here. We're going to put the deluxe model. All right. The question tells us the number of units for each is 100. All right. The direct labor hours per unit, the question tells us for the standard model, it's 8. And for the deluxe model, it's 12. So then we just multiply these two numbers. We multiply the 100 times 8 to get the total budgeted direct labor hours for the standard model, 800. And then we multiply the 100 units for the deluxe by the 12 hours per unit, and that gives us the budgeted direct labor hours for the deluxe. And we add those two numbers together. I'm going to put a total here. We add these two numbers together and we get the total budgeted direct labor hours for both the deluxe and the standard model. All right, moving on to part two. Requirement two says, compute the plant-wide overhead rate using budgeted labor hours. So for part two, we're going to start with our budgeted overhead costs. And the question tells us that our budgeted overhead costs for the year was 420,000. So that was given in the question. Then we just calculated our budgeted direct labor hours. And we calculated that at 2,000 right here. So 2,000 direct labor hours. So then we divide these two numbers, and that gives us our amount, which is $210 per direct labor hour. Okay, so that's part two. Part three now says, compute overhead costs per unit for each model using the plant-wide overhead rate. Actual direct labor hours per unit are 8 for the standard model and 12 for the deluxe model. So I'm going to start here with, we have the model, we have our plant-wide overhead rate. I'm going to merge this into two cells here. You don't have to worry about any of this because you're just going to be selecting this in your in the Connect system. Hours per unit, and then I'm going to have my overhead allocated. All right. So then for my models, I'm actually going to move this over a bit. Put this here. So for my model, I have my standard model and I have my deluxe model. All right. So my plant-wide overhead rate, which I just computed in part two, is $210 for both of these. All right. And this is per direct labor hour. So I'm just going to copy this. All right. The hours per unit, the question tells us. Again, it says for standard, it's 8 hours, 8 direct labor hours. And For deluxe, it tells us it's 12 direct labor hours. So then the overhead allocated, we just multiply these numbers. So we multiply the 210 times the 8, and we get 1680 per unit. And we multiply the 210 times the 12, and we get 2520 per unit. And that is how we solve that question. If you have any questions or if there's anything you don't understand, please feel free to reach out. Always happy to help.